Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting panel from our Industry Insights series. My name is Lee Jacobson. I'm Director of Events and Programs at the Seattle Metro Chamber. And every quarter, we spotlight a different regional industry and its impact on the local economy. So today, we're bringing together and recording with three leaders from the aviation sector in our region. They'll discuss successes, innovations, and opportunities for collaboration. So I will go ahead and introduce them and then get started with the panel. So we have Arif Ghouse, Chief Operating Officer for Seattle-Tacoma International Airport and the Port of Seattle. Randy Fiertz, Director of Airport Affairs at Alaska Airlines. And Wendy Sowers, Director, Commercial Market Forecasting and Analysis at the Boeing Company. So our first question today, and we can just go in order of your introductions. Tell us a bit about yourself, describe your organization, and tell us how you fit into the region's aviation ecosystem.
Well, hello, everybody. I fell into aviation by accident. I did a summer job at Heathrow Airport for British Airways in an accounting field because I was a business major. And when I went behind the scenes at Heathrow, I just totally fell in love with aviation and actually went and changed my master's degree to aviation. So being in the airport industry since 1990, worked at a 7-airport private system in the UK, which included the 3 big London airports. From there, I moved to the US and worked at Bush Intercontinental Airport, and then moved up to the Pacific Northwest. Was with the Port of Seattle, which manages the SeaTac Airport, SEA Airport, for 14 years. And then I left to manage Payne Field up in Snohomish County for 8 years plus. And then I came back to SEA about 2.5 years ago as the Chief Operating Officer. And currently I'm serving as the Interim Aviation Managing Director for the past 3 months. And, SEA is the largest commercial airport in the Pacific Northwest.
Great. Thank you, Randy.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Randy Fiertz. I've been with Alaska Airlines for the past 6 years. Prior to that, I was with the Federal Aviation Administration, and I wore many hats for FAA, including the economic regulator of all of the airports in the United States. As well, I've had other roles where I partner very closely with Boeing and other manufacturing companies. Here at Alaska, I'm the Director of Airport Affairs, which makes me the primary liaison between Alaska and SeaTac Airport. And Arif and I work closely together in that space. When I was with FAA, and some folks might remember the Seattle Airport Master Plan study, a comprehensive study focused on long-term improvements and expansion of airport needs in the Puget Sound area. I initiated that study to determine the level of investment warranted at SEA. And this was driven by a really important question facing our region: how do we best accommodate our region's growth and continued economic competitiveness?
Still working on that one, I think we are. And we'll just
Yes,
keep
we are.
growing. So this is a timely and ongoing conversation. Wendy?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. Great to be here to chat with everybody. I too kind of fell into the industry. I've been with Boeing for over 25 years now, although had a couple of roles before in financial services and light manufacturing, and was lucky enough to join here in Renton back when we still had a 757 line and also a 737 line, and I was doing what we call materials management. It was in supply chain, making sure the right parts get to the right airplane on time. Great role, but over time had the opportunity to move over to the marketing side of our business. I've done several roles there, and then for quite a while now, probably over 15 years, have been in our market analysis team and market analysis and forecasting team, which is the role that I'm in now. And it's a great opportunity because I get to do things like this, but also, our market's very global market for airplanes, and our markets are so dynamic and they're changing all the time. So there is always something new to learn in this role. So it's really been great.
Wonderful. Thank you. So diving into the meat of our panel questions here today, let's start with the exciting opportunities or innovations currently happening at your different organizations. And feel free to just popcorn around.
I can start off. So this one for me, once again, I'm probably going to lean a little bit on my market forecasting side. But just in the last few weeks, we had our big industry air show over in Europe, and each year when that happens, we release a market forecast, a commercial market forecast. That we've been doing for 6 decades now, and it's our view of what's happening out in the marketplace and some of that more long-term planning. And for me, one of the exciting things is our market opportunity in terms of aviation as a whole. The forecast predicts that we'll need over 43,000 airplanes over the next 20 years, commercial jets for around the world, the entire industry, not just Boeing. But if you do the quick math on that, that's over 2,000 airplanes a year that the industry needs to deliver into the marketplace. And I think from our standpoint, that's a great market opportunity that we can work to fulfill, both Boeing as well as with all of our suppliers here in Washington, to meet that opportunity.
So I'll go next. This is a question that I could spend hours talking about. It's very exciting for us. But just very quickly then, SEA is in the midst of a 5-year, $5 billion capital program to upgrade our current facilities. We're currently a 4-star airport, and our ambition is to become a 5-star airport. And that essentially means a world-class customer experience from the moment you leave the highway to the time you reach your departing gate. From Alaska's North Main terminal upgrade that we're currently undergoing, to our 4-story dining and retail addition on top of Concourse C, the travelers are going to experience an entirely different airport to what they've known in the past, even in the last 5-10 years. We recently also opened a new checkpoint 1, our first TSA screening checkpoint on the baggage claim level. And we're well underway to finish a significant number of new projects in advance of next year's summer FIFA World Cup, where Seattle will be hosting 6 of the games. In addition to the projects I've just mentioned, I'm particularly excited about the 2 lanes that we're going to be adding to our arrivals drive, so that people aren't caught waiting 30 minutes or more between I-5 and a terminal curbside, which we know is a significant pain point right now, depending on certain times of the day.
So this is a really exciting time at Alaska Airlines. First, with the acquisition of Hawaiian Airlines, Alaska is now truly a global airline with its headquarters right here in Seattle. There are very few U.S. cities that can say they are home to a major airline. Secondly, we are bringing wide-body aircraft to Seattle, which means we can fly to more international destinations in Asia and Europe. We have 4 wide-body aircraft currently flying out of Seattle, and we will build to a fleet of 12 787s, and really solidifying our global gateway out of Seattle. You might have seen our recent launch of a direct flight from Seattle to Tokyo. The next, we'll be bringing Seoul in September and Rome in May of 2026. And we'll be rolling out 9 more direct destinations out of Seattle by 2030. And soon we'll be announcing our plan for Seattle-based wide-body crew. Thirdly, we're working very closely with the Port of Seattle to reimagine the curb-to-gate experience through innovative technology. Things like electronic bag tags, self-drop bags, and touchless identification for passenger screening. Finally, as Arif mentioned, we're investing in an even better SEA, finishing the Seattle Gateway project, which is a major overhaul of our ticket lobby and security checkpoint, which is a more than $500 million combined investment between Alaska and the Port of Seattle. And then to go into Arif's building that he talked about with the new 4 stories, we'll have a 40,000 square foot lounge in that building. So we're very excited.
That all sounds great. As someone who flies Alaska quite often through SeaTac, pleased to hear about all of that. I'm going to skip ahead in our question list a bit because, Randy, you sort of are leading us into it. I would love to hear how your organizations collaborate with each other currently. What benefits have you seen from those partnerships, and where is there potential for even further collaboration? I don't know if you want to expand on that, Randy, since you sort of started it with your last answer.
Sure. Happy to go. So yes, we do, as I mentioned, work very, very closely with the Port of Seattle. Tremendous amount of investment, as Arif mentioned, $5 billion worth of projects currently underway. We work very closely with the airport to, to help make sure that we all come up with the projects that all of the stakeholders need. Certainly, we're going to have to do a lot more collaboration in figuring out exactly how to put those wide body aircraft here in Seattle. But those are projects that we are currently working on together, which is exciting. In terms of collaboration with Boeing, we are very proudly fly Boeing aircraft. We did just acquire some Airbus with Hawaiian. But as I mentioned earlier, we have a large order in of 787 aircraft, and we were, I believe, the first airline to order MAX aircraft again after the aircraft grounding. In addition to that, we're working very closely with both the port and Boeing on sustainability missions, which we will have some announcements in the coming months. But in particular, we're working together on sustainable aviation fuel.
Thank you. Arif or Wendy, either feel free to jump in. He teed you both up, so.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah. I think that's one of the great things about us all being here in in the Puget Sound region and the opportunity to collaborate. I kind of think about it in three levels, maybe. Some of the more formal partnerships. Randy, you mentioned sustainable aviation fuel. A decade ago, we kicked off the three of us together about, infrastructure at SeaTac for sustainable aviation fuel. So those kinds of things. I think there's the product elements where we're always talking with our customers and the other folks in the aviation system to figure out where the pain points are and what can we do better. One of the examples I come up with actually for Alaska would be we launched space bins together. So for those of you who, when you get on the airplane, you want to get your bag in the overhead bin, and now you can put them up on their side, and there are more bags that can go in those bins, so you don't get a gate check. That's something that we in Alaska collaborated on to launch. And then I think the third element for me is what I would call more informal partnering. So once again, the fact that we're all here together in Puget Sound, we have opportunities to really understand each other's businesses because we're connecting on so many different levels. So, I think about leader talk exchanges that we've seen. I had the opportunity for several weeks to go work actually at Alaska, and understand some of the particular challenges that they were facing at the time. And I think, that kind of collaboration where we really, we all run big, complex businesses, right? And so we're all working really hard at doing that. The opportunity to get a little bit of insight in how it's working at the other businesses, I think really helps us all be better.
And I apologize. I didn't realize I put myself on mute earlier on, but Alaska with over 50% of the passenger traffic at SCA is obviously one of our most important partners, and we collaborate daily on everything from operations to capital programs. The North Main Terminal redevelopment is actually a public-private partnership between the port and Alaska Airlines, which helps increase the efficiency of the project delivery while reducing the cost of the project for us as well. Alaska is also a major driver of international service, not only with the new announcements with their wide-body aircraft, but also, we have to remember that they're a significant player here with code sharing with other airlines, and they have helped bring a lot of passengers into the region that feed into the domestic system through their partnership with the international airlines. In terms of future collaboration, sustainability is a shared value, I think, for all three entities speaking to you today. And we'll continue to work together on everything from air fuel efficiency to alternative jet fuels. Boeing, it's a great partner, a regional partner, of course, for us, particularly because of their manufacturing innovation, which is key in helping us achieve our environmental goals and our quality of life goals for our near airport communities. We're surrounded by 6 cities, and the airport plays a significant role in their lives, and we have to be a good kind of a neighbor for them. Boeing's airplanes are not only more fuel efficient, but also quieter, which is key to reducing the noise concerns for local residents around the airport. And again, they've been one of our long-term partners in sustainable aviation fuel, a very important topic for us. And we continue to be, they continue to be a major driver in that transition for the industry.
Great, thank you. I'll get us back on track with the next question. What are the biggest challenges facing your organization and or kind of the aviation industry today? And that could be regionally, I think that's where we would want to focus, but certainly, nationally or globally too. And how are you addressing those challenges? Arif, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Let me start with the overall growth, which of course is a good problem to have. SCA has grown from, I think it was 31 million passengers back in 2010 to now more than 53 million in 2024. And all that in a facility that was originally designed to comfortably accommodate just 30 million passengers. And our roadway system leading up to the terminal was designed for 25 million passenger capacity. So one of the reasons we're so focused on upgrading our existing facilities is to better accommodate the air travel demand that we are already seeing in our region. SCA is also working closely with FAA on the federal environmental review for our sustainable airport master plan, which is a blueprint for how the airport's going to expand within the next 5, 10, 20 years. And that plan, which we submitted, includes 31 proposed capital projects throughout our airport footprint. All of them are designed to accommodate the passenger demand that we know is coming in the next decade. The biggest of those 31 projects is our proposed North Terminal on the other side of the airport, on North Campus there. A standalone facility that will have its own curbside, its own TSA checkpoints, and additional 19 gates for aircraft. It's been a very long process to get SAMP, as we call it, the Sustainable Aviation Master Plan, through the environmental review. And it's very exciting to be moving closer to getting past that regulatory process in order to bring those projects in front of our Port Commission for their review and consideration.
Thanks. Wendy?
Yeah, so once again, maybe leaning a little bit towards what I tend to do, thinking about challenges for us, but also the opportunity, I guess, maybe here in the region. One of the things we've been spending a fair bit of time is what we've called the airplane supply-demand balance. So coming out of the pandemic, we clearly huge decline in travel volumes, but they also bounced back very quickly once folks could travel again. And big complex supply chains can't quite move as fast. So one of the challenges we've had is getting back up to rate as an industry to where we were, and maybe to put a little bit of data around that. For perspective, the global air travel market is about 60% bigger than it was at the beginning of the last decade, in 2011, 2012 timeframe. But as an industry, we're still producing about the same amount of airplanes. So we're 60% bigger and we're still producing at the same rate. Which gives some perspective about how we've gotten a little bit behind coming out of the pandemic. And so what the challenge for us is really getting back to those rates that we were at prior to the pandemic as an industry, so that we can both provide airplanes that our customers are looking for in terms of growth opportunities and the plans that they have to expand their networks and serve more passengers, but also to replace existing airplanes. There are about 27,000 commercial jets out there today, and a lot of them are getting to the ends of their economic lives, and in some cases maybe past them because of where we've been. And so really getting back to stable, sustainable rates and regular deliveries for our customers so that they know and they can plan their operations going forward is where we've really got our focus.
So for us at Alaska, I think actually both of those things are opportunities and challenges for us. With Boeing, certainly we have large orders of aircraft in, and we're working together with Boeing to ensure that we get those as soon as we can. And then, as Arif mentioned, there's a lot of projects, capital projects, work on trying to make SeaTac Airport the most efficient airport it can be with its limited footprint. And again, as was mentioned earlier, we do work very, very closely with the airport to generate ideas and implement them to have a place to put all those Boeing planes here in Seattle and to be able to provide the service to the community. In terms of Alaska specifically, our biggest challenges right now really are, well, challenge and opportunity is integrating the two airlines, Hawaiian and Alaska. We are on track for a single operating certificate by the end of October. That means, in the eyes of the FAA, we would be one airline, although we will continue to operate two different brands, Alaska and Hawaiian. But again, one airline. So that's something that hasn't happened before in this country, and so it's I guess it goes back to the innovative question as well. So trying to do something that hasn't been done before here. And then I guess finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the concerns that we all share with FAA staffing, particularly air traffic control staffing and FAA infrastructure, the challenges that presents, and we're working closely with the Department of Transportation to address those as well.
Thank you. So many answers are building on each other, and clearly great working relationships between the three organizations, all centered here in the Seattle region. So can you dive a bit more into why the aviation industry is so important for our region and our economy? And not just because I love flying Alaska planes from SeaTac to go visit my family on the other side of the country. There's a lot more to it than that. So,
you know, it's a very timely question because here at the Port of Seattle, we used a third party to update our economic impact study, and it was just recently completed. So it's a good question. And I can share some really great stats with you. The SCA's economic impact stats, we support nearly 175,000 regional jobs. It's a $10.5 billion endeavor in kind of wages and benefits to the community, and almost a 34 billion in business output. So it's a significant economic powerhouse in the region for your benefit, right? But to us, it's not just about the numbers, right? We serve as a gateway to the rest of the world for people and goods, which is about connections, exploration, and opportunity, right? So, for example, this month, it's hard to believe it's already July, but this month is the peak of our cherry export season for Washington State, where international air freighters arrive for the sole purpose of loading Washington cherries and selling them in foreign markets. Similarly, I had already mentioned the World Cup coming here next summer, the FIFA soccer games, which is going to be so much easier by the fact that we have seen huge growth in a number of direct international connections from SCA. Just this year alone, in 2025, we've celebrated Alaska's new direct flights to Asia. We've had new services commenced to Zurich and Copenhagen in Europe, and we've added additional direct connections to Canadian and Mexican routes. So the opportunity to allow people from all over the globe to easily access our region is a major driver, not only for economic activity, but also cultural, personal connections, and long-lasting and wide-ranging benefits to the region.
Yeah, Lee, as you mentioned earlier, you know, Alaska is the hometown carrier of this region, and we take immense pride in taking folks where they want to go, whether it's across the state, across the country, and now across the world. So it's significant for us that we can now do that internationally and not just on our own aircraft, as opposed to just relying on our partners, who still remain incredibly important to us. In terms of economic impact, one of the things I think is important to mention, Alaska has about 11,000 employees in the greater Seattle region, and they are the ones that make our company as successful as it is. And they, in turn, of course, have built their lives here. They're invested in the region's economy, and they help build Seattle's reputation as a highly skilled and dynamic city and an attractive place to live and work. And then the last point I want to make is, um, as Arif mentioned, we do carry more than 50% of the travelers out of Seattle Airport, and we carried 26.5 million passengers last year.
Yeah, I think I'm going to echo everything that you all just said. The two dimensions I think about are our presence in the region. So, economic impact from an aerospace perspective. Some of the recent studies show 285,000 direct and indirect jobs for aerospace between Boeing as well as all the supply base that we have here. It's the revenues that came in. You talked about that. It's the charitable contributions. It's the educational investment in STEM and those kinds of things. So I think that's one element of it. And then the other piece that you both have touched on is our connectivity to the world. I love the cherry example. My team includes our air cargo folks, and so they're always giving that example about the cherries. I think that's just a really key piece. And, when you look at the GDP or the economic output of the state of Washington, it's like something around trade is something around 7% of our economic growth. So it's top 10 in the US. And some of it is going on airplanes as air cargo, but it's also the connectivity that you all are providing to our business community here, and ability to go and shape those commerce opportunities, as well as you were talking about the cultural exchanges, the opportunity to go visit friends and family, that I think is really part of the amazing thing that we provide.
Wonderful, thank you. And that really, I think, segues well into our next question, coming from this place of connectivity and really being part of the fabric of the region. What's the relationship between the aviation sector and the broader business community? How is that evolving? And are there opportunities for increased collaboration or support between your companies, the industry, and other industry sectors here?
Yes. So, as we keep talking about in this session, we have this opportunity and need to make SeaTac Airport all that it can be, to address the demand coming out of this region, which continues to grow every year. Many airports are not back to pre-COVID levels. This one is beyond that at this point and continues to grow. We know that the airport impacts and airport operations and expansion disproportionately impact the near airport communities. And we're committed to partnering with those and with our neighbors here in SeaTac to grow responsibly and ensure their community remains vibrant and healthy. But business and civic leaders need a thriving airport that meets the need of our regional economy. And we would really look forward to working with the business community in promoting that idea that we need this thriving airport. And as I said, look forward to that collaboration.
I can add that the business community has been a huge champion for the aviation industry here in the region, from airports to airlines to aerospace manufacturing. The audience that we're speaking to today, you are our customers, our advocates, and our investors, quite frankly, right? And let's remember also, despite all the changes that have been happening with the economy, et cetera, last few years, Seattle is still jet city, and that really does matter to people here in the region. And as we look to the future here at the airport, I do believe that the business community can be an even bigger partner in addressing the challenges of accommodating growth in an efficient and sustainable way. Solving our transportation challenges, and we have plenty of them in our region, while reducing our impact on the environment, it's a tall task. But this is a region that has the innovation, the energy, and the collaboration to make it happen. And quite frankly, the private sector has a big role in that. The government and the airports don't have all the answers. We need the public sector. Sorry, the private sector.
Yeah, I think I would echo all of that from our perspective. Clearly, all of us longtime members of the business community here, and exactly what you're saying. None of this is as the region grows, and we're moving forward. It's about all of us working together because there are things that we can't do. One of the things I think that aviation has taught me over time is that we're all interconnected, and so we all need to work together to solve some of these larger problems. And I think that suggests that there will be more collaboration going forward because that's the way that we're going to find our way through on some of these bigger challenges we've been talking about.
Great, thank you. So we're down to our last question here, and really any closing thoughts in addition to that. I'd love to hear from each of you what's an insight or a tidbit, if you will, about the aviation industry that you wish more people understood and why that matters.
I can start. There are so many that I thought of, but the one that I think hits on a lot of the themes, frankly, we've been talking about over the last half an hour or so, is our, as an industry, the fuel efficiency that we have achieved as an industry over the last several decades. So since the beginning of the jet age, we've improved the fuel efficiency of passengers traveled by 70% over time, and it's huge. So I think it's important probably for many reasons, but the three that really stand out for me are sustainability, which we've been talking about a lot already today. And um, and I think one of the keys for me there is it's not just something we've started in the last decade. This has been an ongoing um, uh, initiative for the industry, the drive for fuel efficiency. So we've been doing it for decades. We see what's ahead of us. We are continuing down that path. Particularly as you look at how much of fuel for an airline, how much of their operating costs it comprises. It's a really big driver. Um, One of the things that's enabled, so for the second element, is the fact that at an industry level, as well as here, airlines over time have been able to reduce real fares and make the opportunity to fly more affordable. So more people have the opportunity to fly. And one of the elements of that has been the ability to improve fuel efficiency and reduce overall costs. And then the final thing for me is the working together piece that we've been talking about, which is we spend a lot of time working on our products to make them more fuel efficient, but it's not just the products, right? It's how you operate the airplanes. It's how ground operations happen at the airport. It's how air traffic control works together. So to me, it's a great example of how all of us working together can achieve great things. And so I think it's a great example of that.
Thank you. I hope nobody brought the same insight. Arif, what's yours?
Well, Lee, if I can answer in two ways. One as a good news and another one as a challenge. On the good news front, aviation is always pretty much on the leading edge of technology, right? And also on safety. I mean, you probably hear quite often aviation, air transport is the safest mode of travel, etc. And that's not by chance, right? It's the industry takes safety very seriously, and we're always on the leading edge, and innovation and manufacturing. So that's worldwide, but knowing that Seattle is such a big player in the aviation industry, we should all, as a community, be proud of that, right? That we have that role in that leading edge. And on the challenge side, I would just say that, I've now served on 2 state committees. One was a commission, and now I'm currently serving on an existing work group that's been attempting to address the issue of the growing demand for air travel in our region and the lack of capacity, right? And so, unfortunately, we have not been successful yet in terms of solving that problem. Not surprisingly, nobody really wants a major new airport in their backyard. But if we don't solve that problem as a region, lack of air travel capacity is going to become a choke point. I can guarantee you that for our regional economy. It's going to affect the private sectors as well as the public sector. And so it's going to take a very concerted effort and strong political will in our region to solve that solution. But I think we're ready to roll up our sleeves and work with the community and business partners to identify some solutions.
So it's hard for me to go after Wendy and Arif. You all brought brilliant ideas and opportunities going forward. I guess I have just two things that I wanted to conclude with. One, uh, the construction here at the airport, particularly on the north end of the terminal where our Alaska's ticketing is, and the checkpoint has been closed for some time. That will come to an end by the end of the year, and it's going to be just an amazing experience for everybody, and we're really looking forward to that. But then just the final thing, really going back to the previous question, is we really do look forward to working together with the community, with the business community, in doing what we can to support the airport in addressing the needs of the airport and making sure that this airport can be all that it can be.
And Lee, I just wanted to add one more thing because most people probably don't know this, but there are approximately 550 commercial airports in the US, and SCA is considered as one of the core 30. In other words, the 30 largest airports in terms of traffic. But we are most likely the most constrained footprint major airport in the US. So when you come here as business travelers or on your leisure travel, and you see the congestion at the airport and all the construction going on, which adds to that issue, please know that we know the challenge that you face, and we're committed to addressing it through, like I mentioned at the beginning, our capital upgrades to our existing facilities, and then building new facilities once our SAMP is approved to ease that pain. But it's not an easy task when we have such a small footprint to work with, because we cannot shut down an area completely and just move people to another location while we redevelop that area that needs to be updated, because we have nowhere to put people. So we have to work around the operation, which makes it more challenging. But as Randy mentioned, that major construction will come to an end at some point, and you'll have a very beautiful and proud airport that you can be very proud of.
Great, thank you. Wendy or Randy, any other final thoughts?
Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you, Lee.
Yep, same, likewise. It's been great conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Randy, Wendy, Arif, Alaska Boeing, and SeaTac in the Port of Seattle for a really interesting conversation. I'm excited to share this out with our members. And just a note for everyone listening, if you want to continue this conversation, we will have the tour portion of this Industry Insights event on August 6th. That's a Wednesday. We'll be doing a tour at SeaTac Airport and just get to see some of these partnerships and stories and statistics in action while we're there. So thank you again, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.